So in this video, we're going to talk about how to create new tracks in Pro Tools. Now here we have a Pro Tools session open, and if you go to the main menu, there's an option where you can click on Track and New. And once you create here you can see that there's a menu for new tracks. And there are different parameters here that you can select. The first one is to create how many tracks. It's like create one new mono audio track in samples. Now when we talk about create one track, and we have to select what kind of format we want. Is it we want mono format, which is like a single track, or we want to create a track which is a stereo track, which is a two tracks, left and right. And if you're working in Pro Tools HD, you will also have some surround sound and some other tracks. Okay, now let's come to the track type. There are different track types here: audio track, aux input, master fader, MIDI track, instrument track. Now in audio track, this is basically the track where you can work on the different audio files which either you record or you import into the Pro Tools. So this is like the most common type of audio track that you're going to use. For example, if you use a single vocal file, single track, it's a mono. Or if you're recording like in a guitar in a stereo format, so you get left and right, so you can use the audio track for such kind of recording or arranging or importing and working on audio files. Now so like this is the most common type of track that you're going to work on. And now if you come to aux input, then in aux input, normally this is like something used for signal routing tasks like aux returns. Now let's talk about master fader. So in master fader, what happens is, for example, you have 10 tracks which are routed to, let's say, the output 1 and 2. Then what we can do is we can route this master fader to output 1 and 2 and control all the 10 tracks from this master fader track. What that means is that this gives you an overall control on the final output of those 10 tracks. So it's a very recommended that you have this master fader track and in the stereo format, so that you can control the overall output of those 10 tracks. Now let's come to MIDI track. MIDI track, as we all know, it's more of recording of the performance data. So like a MIDI track is not like any audio. We just record the like MIDI with MIDI instruments and all that. And since it's just a data, that's why you don't have the option of mono or stereo in MIDI. And finally, the instrument track, we will talk about it in detail later, but it's like a combination of MIDI and aux input. So it allows for MIDI recording as well as audio monitoring. And you also have samples and ticks that you have to select at the last. So we'll talk about that later. And if you use the plus and the minus sign, you will see that you can go on adding tracks. Mono, you can select mono or stereo, and master fader is a recommended. So let's select the master fader. Let's add a MIDI track, and when you just hit create, what we get is a Pro Tools session with all the tracks which are created, which are ready to work with.